Dude, why I don't understand people who AFK and leech, dude. So recently I just had a video where I discussed the BP system, and within that video I kind of, brought up for a brief period about AFKs and leechers and stuff like that. And so I wanted to just go ahead and just make a video breaking down so y'all understand exactly my train of thought with this whole thing, and it will better help you understand why these things are issues, and it will also address some very common inputs and responses I have for these types of things about AFKs and leechers. Because remember, one thing about me is that I'm never trying to attack y'all. The goal is always to help y'all better understand and to clarify things. That's always the goal. So let's dive in. But first, be sure to like, subscribe. Helps out tremendously. Thank you very much. Mwah. So first and foremost, you have to understand about AFK and leeching and this type of unfavorable behavior within these games is that this is an MMORPG. MMORPGs are games that are built around their community. It is all about community experience. These are not like, Call of Duty or Valorant or, some MMORPGs are literally centered on their communities. The communities upkeep the game. If the community is trash, the game will also be trash. Even if the game is like super good, super entertaining, if the community is bad, then the game can only ever go so far, regardless. And with that basis of MMORPGs being understood, understand that sometimes I get responses along the lines of, well, there's no meaningful stuff to do in the game. So this is why I just AFK and leech and don't really gear or anything such and so like that. Okay, so my question there, or my response to that is, if there's nothing to do in the game, if your excuse for being crazily lazy, just not really respective of the other people around you, is there's nothing to do in the game, then my question to you is, why are you playing the game? First and foremost, that's my question to you. So why are you playing the game? Clearly you're playing the game because that's not the case, because obviously you're finding something to do in the game, and obviously it's keeping you coming back. And now with that being said, let's say that you maybe play the game for fashion. And look, there's nothing wrong with playing the game for fashion. A lot of people play the game probably with a high emphasis on fashion. And as you should, fashion is a very key focal point in the game. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly okay. But understand that if you're playing fashion and you're lobby grinding, that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. That's what you're doing. Same thing as like creative space or line strike. If you're focusing on creative space, focusing on line strike, then it's like, cool, that's what they're there for, to play the game differently. Play the game in their own unique ways. That's perfectly fine. But understand that the minute that you step into combat, understand now that you're responsible for having at least average, at least decent gear. The minute you step into group play, you are now responsible of yourself in regards to how you contribute to that group. Now, if you just want to stay in the lobby and fashion grind, that's perfectly fine, as long as you're not going to urgent quests and LTQs and things of the like. Then that's perfectly fine. No one's going to bother you there, and by all means, have fun with that. Lobby grind, it's always really cool to see everyone's unique, different cosplays and how they built their characters. I enjoy that. But understand that once you go inside of this group play, it is now on you to meet that average, that decent level of gear. And so surely you're probably going to cycle back around with gearing up is so useless. Gearing up is so useless. It's just going to be updated soon anyway. So there's no point to gear. Bro, the same people who say this bull are the same people who will never gear to begin with. Plain and simple, they're the same people who are never going to gear to begin with. Y'all have heard me talk about being careful about giving people like handouts and stuff like that, because the fact of the matter is that you keep giving them handouts and then it gets to the point where they're not actually using the handouts. Like, you keep making things easier for them, but they don't take advantage of the things that make it easier, but then they just keep complaining about this and that. Because the fact of the matter is that these people who are like this are not ever going to actually do something about it. They need to help themselves. They can't help themselves, so how the hell are they going to help anything? They can't help themselves, and that's where the issue comes in at. They need to address whatever's going on with them first. Because the fact of the matter is that by making these things easier, or so and so and so, it's actually, if anything, it kind of enables them to just it almost makes it worse, I guess. Right? Because it's like you're giving them what they want, I guess, But what you need to be doing is being more stern on them, quite frankly. And now it's fine because the gearing is where it's at now, but like it should not go lower than where it's at now because it's too easy to obtain. And the fact that we're still seeing stuff like this is absolutely ridiculous because it's so easy to obtain. And that lets you know that it should not go lower. Because if it's this low already, if it's dropped this low already, then obviously it ain't working. Obviously, it's not going to change anything if it goes lower. You can hand these things out for free to people, fully equipped, and they still will find ways not to use it. No matter how much you dumb things down, it's simply not going to help these people who have this mindset, this mind frame. Plain and simple, it's not. No matter how much you dumb it down until they figure it out themselves. And the fact of the matter is that people want to play the game. Just because you don't want to play the game does not mean that other people don't want to play the game. 95% of the people who are on the game because they want to play the game. Do you know why this is? It's because 95% of people are mature enough to understand that if they don't like a game, then maybe they should go play something else, right? That's the most logical freaking way of thinking, right? If I don't like a game, then let's go play a different game. Why am I going to spend time on this game that I don't like? That doesn't make any sense, does it? No, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So 95% of the people who play this game are on it because they are trying to enjoy their time on the game. And by not, by doing these AFKs, by trying to leech like that, by not participating, by not putting forth at least the bare minimum effort, you are ruining the experience of everyone who is just trying to simply enjoy the game. It is real simple. Just because you want to hop on, you're part of that 5% who wants to hop on, it's just always doom posting because you hate the world and you hate your life, which I'm sorry, hopefully you figure that out someday. Just because you want to do that does not mean that the other 95% of people, you know what I'm saying, want to do that, what you're doing. You feel me? Doesn't work like that. Does not work like that. As such, if you're running group content, it's your responsibility to be conscious and respectful of the people around you who are just simply trying to enjoy the game, who are trying to play the game. If you don't want to play the game, if you don't want to actually run these urgent quests, then don't run them. If you don't want to go and participate and actually, contribute to the group, then don't run these things. It's real simple. It's not rocket science, y'all. I'm not speaking in hieroglyphics. It's real simple. And in regards to gear, average gear is very easy to obtain nowadays. It's extremely easy to obtain nowadays, more so than it even should be. So there's really no excuse. It's not difficult in any way, shape, or form. Like for rule of thumb, y'all, the top augments as of the time of this video are 5% potency. So your top augments are going to be 5% potency. As you can see here on these Anatis, you'll see it says 5% potency right here. As you can see there, same thing here, 5% potency. It's like your top augments are going to be 5% potency. So for rule of thumb, you want augments as close to 5%. When you're gearing, you want augments as close to 5%. That's rule of thumb. And this system cycles as we get stronger augments. So if we get a 5.5 augment, you want augments as close to 5.5, whether that's, this 5.0 or whatever. And when it's 6, it's so it's always like that. So when you're gearing stuff, think about that. Remember, the numbers in this game are multiplicative. So even those small 0.25, 0.50 percentages make a massive difference. The higher our potency goes because it's multiplicative. That 0.50 could actually register as like a whole 5 points on your gear. Is that big of a difference? So you have to understand that when you are gearing. That's just for rule of thumb, so it makes it easy for y'all who may be struggling to fully comprehend like how the augment system really works. They constantly hand out free campaign items and there's free buffs all around the clock. So if you just take advantage of these things, dude, it's so easy. Remember, I have all these weapons, they're all max gear. Remember, I am not I'm pretty much a free-to-play player. I just have premium. That said, I don't, buy any of these augments. All these augments are just pretty much materials that are sitting around, besides obviously the Anatis, which you have to buy from the personal shop, which I bought from the personal shop. And I have all these weapons max gear. It's real easy to make at least one of these. You know what I'm saying? It's real easy. If I can make this many, it's real easy to make at least one. Plain and simple. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult whatsoever. There's literally people who have gotten onto this game free to play and have had pretty much like max gear in a week's time. Free to play. Now, I'm not saying that this has to be you, but I'm saying that it is very easily possible. It is not difficult, especially if you just take advantage of the campaigns that they're constantly throwing at us. It is very, very, very easy and simple to do. There's no excuse for that type of just not, just a Zover in an urgent quest with 2 augments missing. It's level to 90, but you have 2 augments missing. Like you leveled it to 90. So like you knew to level it to 90, but then you didn't put like even 2. Hell, I mean, you could have had random augments on. It's just, there's no excuse for that. Just like there's no excuse for the AFK and the leeching. There's no excuse for it. And so then you might have the classic people. Well, I played the game 2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, I learned my lesson. I spent a whole lot of time gearing, and then immediately it was just outdated. And it was geared. Well, look, you know what I have to say to that? You know what I have to say to that, y'all? That was 2 years ago. Okay? This is now. I shouldn't have to say more there. So stop with that rhetoric, because this game is substantially more easy to gear than it was 2 years ago. And even 2 years ago, it wasn't that bad to gear. But now it is substantially, absurdly easy to gear. It's absurdly easy to do things in this game. There's literally no reason why you should be running into any issues here. None whatsoever, unless you yourself are making it difficult for you yourself. Plain and simple. Pretty much when people are saying this whole, 2 years ago thing, they're pretty much just grasping at straws to hold on to the justification of being lazy. Pretty much. That's all it is right there. They're just holding on to these straws, trying to say whatever to justify them being lazy and their lack of wanting to put forth effort. It's just simply being inconsiderate of the others around you. As simple as that. Many of you who have ever heard me talk on the stream already know that, like, the basis of everything that I do, everything that I talk about, is always about the entire playing experience. It's about, how it impacts everyone. It's not ever about me. It's always about, how the overall image is being shaped, so how it's going to impact everyone. When I go into an urgent quest, it's about, when I see these things, I see AFKers and leechers or people who are just not contributing or whatever, it's about how it's impacting everyone else, because we are a collective group. Once you enter into that group gameplay, you are now a collective group. It's not just about you. It's about you and the 7 people that are in there. Like 7 plus you equals 8. It's about you, or if it's a 32 lobby room or whatever. It's not just you anymore. It's about the overall experience. And so that's what you have to understand. And that's what people struggle to understand about this. I get on people when they're ruining the playing experience of others. So it's never about me, but more so always about the overall picture. Everyone's just trying to get on the game, have a good time, play a game as it's intended to be played, as it should be. But there's expectations that you have to understand when participating in these group plays. You have to understand, it's like, this is no different than when you're in a group at school, or you're in, a team at work, right? It's no different than that. If everyone is contributing, and then you have this one person who's not even doing the very baseline of contribution, then you're going to get lashed out on, right? You're going to, whether this be school, especially if this is at work. You're going to hear about it from someone, aren't you? Yes, absolutely, you are. It's the same exact thing here. Oh, we're asking us to do the baseline, dude. Just put forth a little bit of effort, dude. That's all. It's not complicated. Because when you're not doing this, you're just making it harder for everyone. You're not respecting people's time. Everyone gets hit by it. And as such, that's why people get upset by it. And that's what's important to understand about that. That's why people get upset by it. The baseline that I'm pushing here for is for people to be more conscious of the surroundings and just put the little bit of effort to have average gear. It's as simple as that. Get yourself at least a Tricilio, make your augments make sense. Understand that even those small percentage increases can make massive differences, because the numbers in this game are multiplicative. Understand that. You don't have to be crazy top level gear, unless you want to. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for crazy top level gear. Unless you want to put that effort in, which isn't really that difficult effort to put in anyway. But It's just too incredibly easy to gear in this game to not have at least average baseline decent gear. It's too incredibly easy to not have just this level of standard of gear in this game. They have over the last year or two created so many avenues to make gearing easier, like to a ridiculous degree. It's so extremely easy to gear now. There's really no excuse for it. And I'm not here to bash or shame you. Please understand that. I'm never here to bash or shame you. And I never want to see people like going and attacking people about their gear, stuff like that. If you're going to, give input on someone's gear, do it trying to help. Do it trying to be constructive. Do not go out and start attacking someone on their gear, because if you do that, I put you right in the same boat as everything else I'm talking about here. You're no different. So let's be clear on that so we all don't misinterpret this in any way, shape, or form. If you are attacking people in that regard, if you're belittling, you're shaming people in that regard, understand that I put you right in the same boat of problematic issues that need to be addressed. My goal here is always to bring accountability and understanding as to how to make the experience better, not only for yourself, but for others. When you have to you gear up a little bit, you'll be surprised how much more enjoyable it is for yourself as well. You're not just doing it for others, you're doing it for yourself too, because it's going to make everything more streamlined. It's going to make everything quicker. You're going to realize that you can urgent quests quicker. Now you have more stuff to do. You can do this, you can do that. You have more time to do this, you have more time to do that. And it's just going to make everything just easier across the board for you. Everything becomes more simpler. People appreciate that you're in their group. Like, oh man, this guy here, I got cute with this guy before. I'm so glad that they're in my group again. People are excited to see you. All that stuff happens if you just put a little bit of effort. It doesn't have to be crazy after, just a little bit of effort. And so it goes out. If you're only going to run fashion, you're never going to do group play, then of course, that's perfectly fine. Lobby grind, do your thing. And no one's bothering you doing that. Enjoy yourself doing that. But understand that once you go into group combat play, once you're in these group settings, then it is necessary for you to contribute. It is necessary for you not to be AFKing. It is necessary for you not to be leeching. It is necessary for you to at least have the standard baseline average gear. That's all we're asking here, y'all. It's your responsibility to hold yourself to a higher standard. And I don't think this is too much to ask in 2025. I don't think it's too much to ask in 2025. Maybe it will have been too much for some of y'all in 2023, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, back when I played, it was so hard, But in 2025, this definitely is not a tall ask, even in the slightest bit, because the bar to at least be decently average geared is so extremely low. At any rate, be sure to like, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Much love. Bye.
Spike to content.